Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us. Now, I have just had hands-on with Shadow of Mordor, and it was incredible. I had loads of fun, and it was really gory, and I'm pretty awesome at free running, so the game has led me to believe. But let's talk about the story to start with, because it's already set in a very, very complicated world, and between some quite famous books and films.
And I think, obviously, being set in Middle-earth like that, there were a couple of things we wanted to do. One is make it so it's a great standalone story. And I think that's the same. If you look at The Hobbit, you can enjoy it as part of the overall sort of tapestry of Middle-earth. You can enjoy it as a prequel to Lord of the Rings, but it's also great on its own. And it's the same with Lord of the Rings. It doesn't require any of the other knowledge in order to enjoy it, but it's also got this amazing connections to this, incredibly rich and detailed world as well.
Now, the character we were playing as had some pretty cool powers called the Wraith. Do you want to tell us a little bit about these powers?
Yeah, so really, we actually have two characters, and they're bound together. And so the Wraith is this very powerful force that was awakened when Sauron returns to Mordor at the start of our game, and is basically using Talion as a vessel so that together they can travel into Mordor. And really, the powers of the Wraith very much like, in Tolkien, power has this kind of very specific meaning. So we have the rings of power, we have the One Ring, and power means the ability to dominate and command and to bend things to your will, whether that's nature or whether that's other people. So, and also the power over life and death, like the pursuit of immortality. And it's, the Nazgul themselves, they have immortality, but it's almost insufferable to them. So there's kind of a double-edged sword to that. But, so that's the powers that the Wraith has. The ability to move between these two worlds, between the Wraith world and the physical world. The ability to bend the will of your enemies to dominate them. The ability to move quickly, through the shadow world, and generally to do so much more than just sort of hunt and kill your enemies behind enemy lines, but to actually bend them to your will and create your own army to challenge the Dark Lord. Yeah,
I was able to sort of climb onto cliff tops and then get out sort of a bow and arrow within the Wraith world, and then sort of use it to almost propel myself across the cliff and straight into enemies, and it was quite an amazing power.
Yeah, so that one, it's everything in the game is so much about choice. So you can use your powers in the Wraith world to defeat your enemies, to use them almost as grapple points to navigate around the world, to once you get there, to then dominate them so they'll actually fight for you. So, really want to give players the freedom and the tools to, control their own experience and just always have so many options about how to play.
So talking about, we're going after the orcs and we're dominating them. Now, that's a huge thing that we're seeing, the Nemesis system. Do you want to give us a quick tour of the idea behind it?
Yeah. So, really a big part of it is in action games. In so many games, the main characters you're interacting with are your enemies. And we just so didn't want your enemies to be cardboard cutout cannon fodder. Like, what can we do to make them more interesting and more meaningful and give you more choices? And so we really focused on making them into living, breathing characters, so they remember their encounters with you. If they survive an encounter or even defeat you, they can level up. This is Mordor, so as we see when Sam and Frodo go in, they're constantly battling against each other, so you can manipulate that. And then ultimately it's a system where you get to create your own personal, unique villains that remember and know you. So, you're building towards these showdowns and these encounters that can, really be memorable and unique for every player. So anytime you play again, anytime your friends play, you're going to have your own personal villains.
Yeah, so on the Nemesis system, I was able to take control of a captain, so defeat him, dominate him, and then I was able to send him after one of the warlords, and then sort of infiltrate the system and then become a warlord himself.
Yeah, and there's just so many ways that can play. You can go straight after your enemies, like headlong, and then it's going to be incredibly difficult, but you could overcome that. You can go after their bodyguards and their henchmen and take them down one by one and be really methodical. You can take any orc in the world from, just being no one, just sort of being a random grunt, all the way up through to being sort of a warlord and in command of other troops. So really, just want to make it almost like a social network of orc society in Mordor.
That's a great way of describing it, actually. I think that's very good. So when we were playing, there was quite a lot of being able to take over the Nemesis system and enjoy that. Now, is that quite the core of the gameplay here, or is this one element? Because I was able as well to kind of just sort of free run around and climb and explore, and that just felt like there was so much to see and do there as well.
Yes, I mean, we're obviously really excited about the Nemesis system because I think in many ways it's our biggest innovation. It's the thing that when people play, they're like, oh, this isn't like anything I've ever seen before. But it is also just one part of the overall experience of everything that we want to have in a third-person action game. So we have the story missions to pursue, we have exploration. Mordor is obviously full of history and artifacts to uncover. There's hunting challenges around the different sort of wild beasts and creatures of Mordor and collecting. There's numerous sort of side quest lines. So there's a whole host of things to do, of which the Nemesis system is one part, but it's certainly the part we're very excited about.
Okay, so my final question, for anyone watching this going, like, I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, I'm a massive Hobbit fan, whereabouts does that sit?
Oh, so the game takes place in between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So Sauron's been defeated by the White Council in Dol Guldur at the end of The Hobbit, and he's returned to Mordor after 2,000 years. So, but then it's around 60 years before the War of the Rings. So Mordor's, it's very iconic, obviously places like Mount Doom and the Black Gates, but it's also very different to what people may have seen of it before. It's just beginning that transformation.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It looked incredible. I got to play it on PlayStation 4. Really exciting. In fact, I'm probably going to go back and do a bit more exploring now. So thank you very much for your time.
Have fun. Thank you.